In 1997, during my final year of school, something horrifying happened to me. Let me take you back to those haunting days. You see, our house was just a short stroll from my school, about a 7-minute walk. Most days, I walked back with my friends, laughing and sharing the day's gossips. But one particular day was different. That evening, exhaustion wrapped around me like a heavy cloak. Eager to rest, I bid my friends goodbye early and headed home alone. The streets were quiet, and the sun was setting, casting shadows that danced with the gentle breeze. As I walked, I felt an uncanny sensation, as if someone's eyes were fixed on me, trailing my every move. I chanced to look back and noticed a red car inching behind me. I tried convincing myself it was a mere coincidence, but my gut told me something was wrong. Terrified, I began walking faster. The car persisted, moving at an eerily synchronized pace. My heart raced and every fiber of my being urged me to get to the safety of my home. Upon reaching my house, I quickly dashed inside, locking the door behind me. I refrained from telling my parents, not wanting to burden them with my paranoia. Weeks passed, and the memory of the red car faded, but fate had a terrifying encounter in store for me. One evening, while my parents were out, I stayed home to complete some school assignments. The house was quiet, with only the occasional rustling of papers as my companion. Suddenly, a soft noise emerged from the kitchen. My heart skipped a beat, but I tried to convince myself it was probably just the wind or a stray animal. Then, to my horror, I heard hushed voices of 2 men conversing. Panic consumed me, and my instincts kicked in. I dialed 911, trying hard to suppress my trembling voice, whispering my predicament to the operator. Knowing I had to hide, I slipped into the wardrobe, praying they wouldn't find me. The minutes felt like hours. Footsteps echoed closer and closer to my room. The door creaked open, and a voice taunted, "Hey, little girl, where are you hiding?" The metallic taste of fear clung to my tongue. Suddenly, my wardrobe's door flung open. Using every ounce of my strength and courage, I pushed past the intruder, surprising him with my sudden move. My legs powered me forward, propelling me out of the house and towards our neighbors. My screams pierced the silent night. Hearing my cries, the neighbors rushed out. The sight of them startled the intruders, who made a quick getaway. But as they sped off, a chilling realization dawned upon me. Their getaway vehicle was the same red car that had stalked me, though the police conducted a thorough investigation. Those men were never found. Even now, years later, the roar of a red car sends shivers down my spine, a haunting reminder of the danger that once lurked so close to home. When I was 9 years old, it was the first time my parents felt confident enough to leave my older sister, Sandy, and me alone for a few hours. She was 12, considered by my parents to be mature enough to look after both of us. The air was thick with humidity, foretelling an oncoming storm. I always hated thunderstorms. The cacophonous sound of thunder always sent shivers down my spine. Sandy caught me staring at the window, at the ominous clouds gathering in the distance. She grinned. "Oh, Sammy's scared of a little rain," she teased, poking my side. I swatted her hand away. "I'm not," hoping to distract me. Sandy grabbed the remote and turned on the TV. Just as the screen lit up, there was a loud clash of thunder. I jumped, and Sandy giggled. "Seriously, Sam, it's just thunder." She turned up the volume, drowning out the storm. A commercial was showcasing some children's toys, but just as it ended, the power flickered. The room was plunged into a brief darkness, and then the lights came back. Phew. That was close, Sandy sighed. I was still gripping the edge of the couch, my knuckles white. Suddenly, the TV flashed with a warning. Severe thunderstorm warning for Allegheny County. A chill ran down my spine. We were in Allegheny County. The warning faded away, replaced by the image of a gloomy cemetery being pounded by rain. That cemetery looked eerily familiar, like the one just down the road from our house. Before we could change the channel, muddy hands shot up from the graves, pulling bodies out of the ground. Corpses looking terrifyingly real and decayed began emerging, the rain washing the dirt off their pallid skin. "Sandy, what are we watching?" I whispered, feeling the dread creep in. The film's perspective then shifted from the cemetery, tracking through a familiar-looking woods, drenched in rain. My heart raced. "That's the woods, behind our house," I stammered. Sandy's teasing demeanor was gone now, replaced by genuine concern. Our breaths caught in our throats when the TV displayed the image of our own backyard, with the back door looming. The dead seemed to be approaching. Every lightning flash on the TV mirrored the ones outside our window. We heard the soft, distant sound of whispers, murmurs, and the wet squelch of mud. Panicking, Sandy pointed to the windows, where shadows passed, distorted by the rain. "Sam, it's syncing up with the real world." The room was filled with a mix of TV noise and real world rustling. Without thinking, Sandy lunged for the TV and yanked the plug, casting the room into a dark silence. We held our breath, hoping that whatever was on the TV stayed there. Then, the front door creaked open. "Who's there?" Sandy called out, her voice shaking. There was no reply. Just when we thought our hearts couldn't take any more, the lights turned on. Our parents, drenched from the rain, looked surprised to find us huddled together, eyes wide in terror. "Oh my, did you two watch something scary?" Mom asked, noticing the unplugged TV. "Looks like they found Night of the Living Dead. Classic," Dad chuckled. Relief washed over me. It was just a movie. I was about to laugh off our overreaction when Dad added, "By the way, why are there muddy handprints on the side of the house? You kids didn't go out during the storm, did you?" Sandy and I exchanged horrified glances. If it was just a movie, then whose handprints were those? The moment I turned 11, responsibility knocked on my door. Not the kind that says, "Wash your hands before dinner," but the real deal. With our parents out for work, it was on me to babysit my 2-year-old brother, Mike, in our new Virginia house. We had recently moved from Pennsylvania, and I felt a weight on my chest, having to care for my brother in a strange place. By the second day, everything had been smooth. Morning cartoons, a game of peekaboo. But by 11 am, Mike began to get fussy. He needed his nap, and oh, did he resist. The morning sun was bright, filtering through the drapes as I finally managed to get him to sleep. Exhausted, I made my way to the kitchen, dreaming of the peanut butter sandwich I'd make for myself. And then I heard it, a knock. At first, I thought it was the front door. Maybe it was one of our relatives who lived nearby. Dad had warned me in his deep, authoritative voice, "Do not open the door for anyone, even if it's family." Maybe they just wanted to check on us. Peeking through the window shades, I expected to see a familiar face, but there was nothing. Empty space. But the knocking persisted. My heart raced, palms sweaty, as I whispered a curse, something I had heard Dad say when he was angry. I quickly ran back to Mike's room to make sure he was still asleep. The soft, rhythmic breathing of my baby brother brought a slight relief. But that knocking, That persistent knock, it wouldn't stop. Then, as I walked through the living room, I realized the noise wasn't coming from the front door. My heart stopped for a moment when I found its source, an oddly placed window just above our couch. The window, Mom said, she wanted to change because it made her uneasy. With hesitation, I peeked through its blinds, and my heart dropped to my feet. A terrifying black figure stood outside, its large yellow eyes piercing right through my soul, coupled with an unnaturally wide, white grin. It was him. The creature I had been dreaming of since I was 8. The one I had sketched for Mom, trying to explain how it haunted my nights. She had said it was just my imagination, but here it was, in broad daylight. I didn't think. I scooped Mike from his bed, his innocent eyes looking at me in confusion, and locked us in our parents' room. I texted Dad, my fingers trembling over the phone's keyboard, but Dad was an hour away, and every minute felt like a lifetime. Then, a new sound. The slow creak of our front door, followed by soft footsteps. They got closer and closer until they stopped right outside the bedroom door. The doorknob jiggled, and in my panic, I let out a scream. This made Mike cry, his loud wails echoing my terror. The entity, or whatever it was, didn't retreat. Its presence was heavy, a darkness looming outside our barricade. The minutes felt like hours. But then, another sound pierced through the terror, the familiar roar of Dad's car. In moments, the weight outside the door lifted. Relief flooded me as I unlocked the door and rushed into Dad's arms. He quickly surveyed the damage. The odd window above the couch had been shattered, and patches of black fur, like substance, lay scattered on the floor. That night, Dad worked to fortify our house. He put up extra locks and boarded the window, promising us safety. It's been years since that day. I'm older now, but the terror remains. I still see that entity in my dreams, with those haunting yellow eyes. Every night, I hope it's the last time. But deep down, I know he's out there, waiting. The wind of a hot summer night was gently rustling the curtains of my room. The atmosphere was heavy with that almost palpable silence you find on nights like this, when every creature seeks respite from the day's scorching heat. I was alone at home. Dad had gone to visit one of his friends, and Mom had a late shift at the hospital. They'd always said I was mature for my age and could handle a night on my own. But the oppressive stillness of the house seemed to amplify my vulnerability. It had been a long day of playing outside with my friends, and all I wanted was to dive into the cool embrace of my bed and let sleep take me. My eyelids felt heavy, and just as I was drifting into sleep, a noise pulled me back into consciousness. It was a faint sound coming from downstairs. It's just the old floorboards, I mumbled to myself, trying to brush it off, just as sleep's tendrils started pulling me back into its grasp. I heard the familiar tune of the TV show my family loved watching every evening. The soft hum of the TV's background noise grew louder. I must have left it on, I thought. But a second later, I realized I hadn't even turned it on today. Curiosity got the better of my drowsy mind, and I descended the stairs. A glow illuminated the living room, but as I stepped onto the cold tiles, the glow faded and the sound died, leaving me once again surrounded by silence. The TV was off. The remote lay discarded on the floor. A chill traveled up my spine. Gathering courage, I shouted, "Hello, is anyone there?" Silence greeted me in return. Every rational part of me wanted to believe I had imagined it all. But then, why was the remote on the floor? I quickly placed it back on the table next to the TV, my fingers trembling slightly. I took one last look around the room and sprinted upstairs to my room, slamming the door shut behind me. I locked it. Safe. I was safe. I repeated that to myself as I dove under my blankets, seeking its protective cocoon. The room felt unnaturally cold. I wrapped the blankets tighter around myself, trying to ward off the chill. Just as my heart was starting to slow down and rationality began creeping back in, a soft, whispery voice echoed from my closet. "Tom, Tom." My heart stopped. The voice called out again, more insistent. "Tom." With every ounce of courage, I turned my gaze towards the closet. Its door was slightly ajar, darkness oozing out of the small opening. I didn't wait another moment. Jumping out of bed, I unlocked my room's door and bolted down the stairs, the voice still echoing in my ears. Rushing into the living room, I collided with two familiar figures, my parents. "Tom, what's wrong? Why are you in such a panic?" My mother's concerned voice broke through my terrified state. "Did you hear it?" I gasped. "The TV." The voice. She gave me a quizzical look. "Why did you leave the TV remote on the floor?" She pointed to the spot I had left the remote earlier, and my heart skipped a beat. I hesitated, the weight of the eerie night pressing down on me. Was it just my imagination? Had the stifling heat gotten to me? My dad, ever the rational one, just patted my shoulder. "It's just the house. Playing tricks. It's old. It makes noises. Now, let's get you to bed." Yet, as they escorted me upstairs, I couldn't help but feel a pair of unseen eyes watching us from the shadows of the hallway. The voice in the closet had been real, and somewhere, deep down, I knew the house wasn't done playing its tricks on me. Not yet. When I was 7 years old, I lived in a small apartment in Los Angeles with my mother. It was a humble home, but for us, it was a haven of security and warmth. My mother, a single parent working multiple jobs, always told me about the various dangers that lurked outside our safe zone. Especially, she warned, the danger of staying home alone. Yet, despite the warnings, there was one fateful day when I found myself alone. The sun shone outside, its light barely creeping through the blinds of the living room. I could smell the distinct aroma of the city outside, a mix of car exhaust, food vendors, and a tinge of salt from the ocean breeze. That afternoon, feeling hot and grimy from playing with my toys, I decided to take a bath. As the water cascaded around me, the familiar and comforting sounds of the city continued to filter through the bathroom window. It was soothing, knowing that life went on just outside. So, I was taken off guard when I heard the distinct sound of the front door opening, the ruffling of a bag, the hushed murmur of the TV that I'd left on. They were all drowned out by that eerie noise. "Mom, is that you?" I called out, thinking maybe she had come back early from picking up McDonald's. What answered me was not the soft and caring voice of my mother. "Hey, kid, why don't you come out here?" It was a gruff, slurred voice, like that of a man who'd had too much to drink. Panicking, I swiftly turned off the water, wrapping myself in a towel. Trembling, I locked the bathroom door just as the shadow of large boots became visible under the gap. The intruder tried the handle, found it locked, and then started banging on the door, each thud making my heart race faster. The door seemed frail, and with every pound I felt it might give way. Moments that felt like hours passed. Then I heard another sound, the soft, familiar jingle of my mother's keys. Almost instantly, the pounding ceased, hushed whispers, the scuffle of feet, and then a louder yell. My mother's voice filled with rage and fear. Hey, get back here. I dared to peek out from the bathroom, catching sight of the back of the intruder as he bolted out of our apartment. My mother, looking fierce and protective, started to chase him, but then stopped, rushing back to me instead. She held me close, her breath fast and ragged. "Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" I nodded, burying my face in her shoulder. "I'm okay, Mom." After that day, things changed. My mother made sure I was never left alone again, even arranging for a neighbor to watch me during her short errands. But as days turned to months and months to years, while I understood the precautions, one thought always haunted me. What would have happened if the intruder had found his way into the bathroom? Would I have been another statistic? Another news story? Or just a faded memory? Whatever the outcome might be, I was just glad I didn't have to find out.